Manhattan, May, the night of the Met Gala. The marble steps of the Metropolitan Museum were bleeding red carpet, cameras flashing like machine gun fire, celebrities dripping in borrowed diamonds and rented confidence. Inside the Temple of Dender, beneath a ceiling of fake stars and real money, the after-party was already drunk on itself. Eliza Moreau stood near a column that cost more than most people's houses, clutching a glass of flat champagne she hadn't tasted. She wore a simple black column dress, custom, but no logo, no feathers, no borrowed Harry Winston. She had made it herself on her grandmother's 1974 Singer, because her husband, Julian Astor Vandermeer IV, had told her the budget was tight this quarter and really, darling, no one will notice you anyway. Julian was 30 feet away, holding court with two Victoria's Secret models and a tech billionaire who still wore hoodies to board meetings. Julian's tuxedo cost $48,000. His smile cost more. When he caught sight of Eliza trying to shrink into the shadows, his face twisted the way it always did when quarterly earnings disappointed him. He crossed the room like a shark that smelled blood and champagne. Jesus Christ, Eliza, he hissed, loud enough for the circle to hear. You look like a funeral director. I told you this was the most important night of the year for the fund. He grabbed her elbow hard enough to bruise. You are an embarrassment to the brand. To me. To every zero on my net worth. Heads turned. Phones lifted. This was content. Julian waved over two black-suited security men who usually guarded Saudi princes. Get her out. Put her in the car. Lock it. I'll deal with her when I'm done closing the Series D. The guards didn't even ask questions. 10 years of marriage, and they treated her like an Uber Eats driver who'd shown up at the wrong penthouse. Eliza didn't fight. She had learned long ago that fighting Julian in public only made the bruises worse later. They marched her past Anna Wintour, past Rihanna, past a Kardashian who actually sneered. Outside, the spring air slapped her face. The Maybach idled at the curb. The back door opened on its own. She slid across cool leather that smelled of Julian's cologne and someone else's perfume. The door shut. Locks clicked. Tears came fast and hot, then the privacy glass lowered an inch. Miss Eliza, said a calm, familiar voice with the faint trace of a queen's accent. Please don't cry. Your father finished the paperwork an hour ago. Eliza looked up, mascara streaking. In the driver's seat sat Vincent Vinny Russo, her dad's driver since the 1980s. He had driven Eliza to PS 101 every morning in a dented Plymouth, back when everyone thought her father was just a subway janitor who lived in a rent-controlled two-bedroom in Rego Park. Vinny turned, held up an iPad. The screen showed a single PDF from the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority, owner of record, Moreau Capital Management LP. 100% of Class A voting shares transferred to Eliza Sophia Moreau effective, 12:01 a.m., May 10th, 10 years to the minute after the wedding. Eliza stared. The champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor mat. Julian had never been the owner. He had been the hired help. 10 years ago, her father, quiet, chain-smoking janitor who spoke 5 languages and never missed a payment on anything, had done what old-school money does: he hid. He put the fund in Julian's name, made Julian the shiny front man, and attached one ironclad clause: if Julian remained married to Eliza for 10 continuous years, the shares would vest to him forever. If the marriage ended any sooner, or if Julian ever publicly humiliated Eliza in a way that caused material reputational damage to the family name, the shares snapped back to her. Tonight Julian had roared in front of 400 phones that his own wife was an embarrassment. The clause had triggered. Vinny gave a small, tired smile. Your dad says hello. And he says it's time to come home. Eliza wiped her face. Something cold and clear replaced the tears. Drive me to the office, Vinny. Yes, ma'am. 7:03 a.m. the next morning. Vandermeer Capital Tower, 57th and Park. Julian strolled through the lobby in last night's tuxedo shirt, sunglasses on, grinning like a man who had closed a 9-figure round and a 22-year-old model in the same evening. He flashed his black card at the turnstile. Beep. Red light. Beep. Red again. He laughed. System's drunk too. Lena, reset it. Lena, the receptionist who used to bring him oat milk cappuccinos without being asked, looked like she'd seen a ghost. Mr. Vandermeer, your access was revoked at 6 a.m. by the owner. Julian's smile died. I am the owner. A 70-inch screen on the lobby wall lit up with the new corporate notice, effective immediately. Julian A. Vandermeer IV is removed as CEO and Chairman of Moreau Capital Management LP for cause. All compensation, carry, and founder shares forfeited. Signed, Eliza S., Moreau's sole managing partner. Julian stared at his own name in giant red letters like it was an obituary. Traders in the lobby pretended to check phones, but every ear was tuned in. He bolted for the private elevator. Key card, dead. He took the stairs 43 floors, burst onto the trading floor gasping. The room went silent. 200 people in headsets turned to look at the man who, 12 hours earlier, had been their god. Eliza stood at the exact spot where Julian usually held court, center of the pit, feet on a desk, barking orders. She wore jeans, white sneakers, and the same black dress from the night before. No makeup. Hair in a messy bun. She looked like a college student who'd pulled an all-nighter, but she held the microphone that controlled the squawk box for all 12 global offices. Good morning, she said calmly into it. This is your new owner speaking. A cheer went up from the floor, genuine, stunned, delighted. Julian tried to shout over it. This is fraud. She's a schoolteacher. She doesn't even understand. Eliza clicked a button. Julian's microphone cut out. His face went the color of rare steak. Security, this time the real kind, not the rented gala muscle, appeared at his elbows. Eliza spoke again, still gentle. Julian, you're trespassing. Please leave before I have you arrested. He lunged. The guards caught him midair like a stage diver. They dragged him toward the elevator. Eliza added, almost kindly, oh, and your Amex Black? Frozen. Corporate jet? Grounded. Hampton House? Titles in the fund. Keys are being changed right now. The elevator doors closed on Julian's scream. 1 month later, Julian's life unraveled faster than a cheap sweater. The Park Avenue penthouse, gone. The Gulfstream, repossessed mid-flight from Teterboro. He had to buy a commercial ticket home and coach, middle seat, crying baby on one side, guy live streaming the whole thing on the other. His mistress, a 26-year-old wellness influencer named Aspen, posted a tearful TikTok from his former bedroom. When you find out your man is actually broke, loudly crying face, broken heart, #Dodge dabble it. He moved back in with his mother in Greenwich, but the Greenwich house was leveraged to the fund too. Eliza foreclosed. His mother now lived in a studio in Stamford and blamed him daily. The final humiliation came when his black card was declined at Cipriani while trying to impress a new Tinder date. The maitre d' quietly slid Eliza's business card across the table. Miss Moreau has instructed us to extend an invitation for you to settle the bill another way. Julian fled. He needed cash. Fast. He sold the Patek, the Birkin he'd bought Aspen, the signed Basquiat fake, turns out. Still not enough to keep the wolves away. He ended up in a studio in Jersey City that smelled of curry and despair, wearing the same hoodie for 4 days straight. When the email came from hr@moreaucapital.com, subject, employment opportunity. Dear Mr. Vandermeer, Moreau Capital is establishing a new financial literacy and emotional wellness program for employees. We are offering you the position of therapy dog handler, full-time, benefits eligible, salary, $38,000 per year, location, 280, Park Avenue, lobby, uniform, company polo, duties, walking, feeding, and cleaning up after 4 golden retrievers that help with trader stress. Start date, Monday, or we resume criminal referral for embezzlement, wire fraud, and tax evasion. Warm regards, Eliza S. Moreau managing partner. He stared at the screen until it blurred. Showed up Monday at 8:55 a.m. in the only clean shirt he owned. Eliza was waiting in the lobby with the dogs, 4 fat, happy Goldens wearing little vests that said Moreau Capital Therapy Team. she handed him 4 leashes and a roll of blue poop bags. "Morning, Julian," she said, voice soft as ever. "Dogs need to go out every 2 hours. Don't let Rufus eat cigarette butts, he gets diarrhea." He wanted to scream. Instead he whispered, "You're enjoying this?" Eliza looked at him, really looked, for the first time in years. "I'm not enjoying anything," she said. "I'm healing." "There's a difference." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, one more thing. The dogs' names are Mercy, Grace, Justice, and Karma." I thought that was poetic. She walked to the private elevator. The doors closed on her small, straight back. Julian looked down. Karma immediately squatted on the Italian marble and took a dump. 3 months later, winter came early. The lobby of 280 Park smelled like pine and wet dogs. Julian, hair gone gray at the temples, 15 pounds lighter, stood holding leashes while traders petted the dogs and deliberately avoided eye contact with him. Children visiting for Bring Your Kid to Work Day asked if he was homeless. He told them no. Technically true. Every morning at 9:15, Eliza walked past with a takeaway cup from the cart he used to ban, peasant coffee. She always nodded politely. Sometimes she even said, "Morning, Julian. How are the pups?" He always answered, "Fine, Miss Moreau," because the HR handbook now required employees to address the managing partner formally. 1 December morning, snow swirling outside the revolving doors, Eliza stopped. She was visibly pregnant, maybe 5 months. Glowing. Happy in a quiet way he had never seen on her face when they were married, she crouched, awkwardly, carefully, and scratched Justice behind the ears. "I'm going on maternity leave soon," she said. "Vincent's driving me to Lamaze tonight. Thought you should know, the new handler they hired is, well, he's good with the dogs." Julian's throat closed. Eliza stood. For a moment the lobby noise faded. "I forgave you a long time ago," she said quietly. "Not for your sake. For mine. Carrying hate is heavy." She placed a gloved hand on her belly. "This baby will never know your name. And that's the kindest thing I can do to you." She walked away. Julian watched the elevator doors close and felt something inside him finally break, not with rage, but with the dull, irreversible crack of a man who understands too late that some losses are permanent. Outside, snow kept falling, covering the city in clean, cold white. Inside, Julian picked up the leashes. "Come on, Mercy. Walkies." The dogs pulled him toward the revolving door and the rest of his life. Across the lobby, the new 70-inch screen displayed the fund's latest headline: Morrow Capital crosses $48 billion AUM, quietest comeback of the decade. Bloomberg under Eliza's name, in smaller letters, proceeds from carried interest to fund free music education in NYC public schools. Julian stepped into the cold. Somewhere above him, in the executive elevator, Eliza Sophia Moreau placed her hand on the swell of her belly and smiled at the future she had sewn, stitch by careful stitch, on an old Singer machine. The doors opened to the top floor. She walked out, not a gray mouse, not a trophy, not a victim, just the owner, and the city, for once, bowed.